Yeah.
Yeah. Hello, Sean.
Hello, Sean. Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Tech Tuesday. And I've been covering over the last couple of weeks the subject of cholesterol. And it's that horrible stuff that we can't live with and we can't live without, almost like a credit card. But in other words, it's a necessary evil. So cholesterol actually isn't the evil. Cholesterol has a lot of uses. Our brain is mostly cholesterol, and our liver creates cholesterol, but there's different types. There's LDL and there's HDL. And the HDL is the healthy, the H stands for healthy cholesterol, and the LDL is the low life one, it's the bad one. So the L stands for the low life. And we're going to have a little bit of both in our system, whether we like it or not. But we want more of the HDL than we do of the LDL. And I've covered all of this in the last couple of weeks, so please feel free to go back, watch the previous recordings, just give you a better idea of what cholesterol is, what it does, what it doesn't do, what our figures need to be, because that's quite an important thing, is to know your figures, know what your levels are supposed to be, and know what your risk factors are. If you know that there's a family history of elevated cholesterol, get checked at least once a year. If there's issues, more than once a year. Just like you take your car in for a service regularly, hopefully, we need to take ourselves in for a service. And I know I'm a bad one to talk about that because I don't do these things, but I'm a medical person. We don't follow our own instructions, just by the way. But it is a good idea, especially if you have that known history. Be aware, get checked. There's often these drives that happen during the year. Some of these charity organizations will set up a booth in a supermarket or a mall somewhere, and they'll check your cholesterol and they'll check your BP and those sort of things, and your pulse rates and all those just basic things. And they also check your sugar levels, just by the way. So if they pick up that there could be a problem, because those tests are not super accurate, but they give you an idea. And if there's a question, go and get it tested correctly, because prevention is a whole lot less painful and certainly significantly cheaper than cure. I know this because I see people in hospital on a regular basis and they're getting treated for problems that could have been prevented. But it's because of diet, lifestyle, etc., that has landed them up in that position. And it's not a fun place to be, because that's often what I call grudge payments, because it's things that you have to do because you don't have a choice. So let me share my screen, and oops, I can't share my screen. There we go. So my talk has been on cholesterol, and we figured out that it's not always the enemy. Too much of anything is bad for you. So too much of the LDL, the bad cholesterol, is bad. But you can't have too much of the HDL, which is the good cholesterol. And we got to the stage where we were going through a few things about different food sources and supplements and things that can be used. And I stopped it pretty much at this level, which is coenzyme Q10 or CoQ10. And this is an antioxidant that plays a key role in cellular energy production to produce ATP, which is the body's primary energy source. So think of a car and the car's engine. Your car parked in the garage, it's got a tank full of fuel, it's got all the spark plugs, it's got the engine, it's got everything, and it's absolutely useless until you turn the key or push a button, depending on what sort of model you have, and create a spark, which gets everything moving, which creates the energy to get the car to move. And the same as us. We're this big jelly sauce that sits there doing nothing until the cells kick into action and they start to move and they start to create the energy to get us moving. And you know what a torch is like if the batteries are flat? It's very, very dim. Might illuminate a little bit, but it's not going to illuminate a lot. And we are more or less the same way if our batteries are flat, meaning our cellular energy is not there. And CoQ10, also known as ubiquinone, because it is found in every cell in the body. And unfortunately, when we start hitting the age of around about 50, in most people on average, your reserves of CoQ10 starts depleting, which is why people get tired, listless, and they lose their energy very quickly as they get older. Now, in my opinion, 50 is not old anymore. It may have been old a long time ago, but it's not old anymore. And I must say, I have seen, and I know, young 95-year-olds, and I know very old 35-year-olds, and sometimes even younger than that. When people start hitting 38 and they say, oh, I'm getting old now and I can't do this and I can't do that, I want to, give them a bit of an energy boost, but I'm not allowed to do that. CoQ10 is synthesized in the body, but age and certain medications like cholesterol-lowering statins lower the amount produced. So even people younger than 50, if they're on statins or other chronic medication, often their CoQ10 is depleted quicker than what it would normally be. Oral supplementation with CoQ10 can help to increase the body's supply of this. And I must say it has made a very big difference to me and to my energy levels, just to give you that extra little boost. Now, a double-blind experiment involving patients with moderate to severe heart failure found that those who took 100 milligrams of CoQ10 3 times a day for 2 years were less likely to be hospitalized for heart failure and had significantly lower chances of dying from CVD or cardiovascular disease or any other cause. So at the very least, do yourself a favor. If you don't have any of the other comorbidities, as they call it, or other factors like known heart conditions, statins, etc., at the very least, take at least 1 CoQ10 a day. Your body will thank you. It will make a very, very big difference. Garlic is another thing that has been used for medicinal purposes for thousands of years. Anytime I cook from scratch, I use garlic as a flavoring. But garlic also sits in my cupboard as a medicine for colds, flus, and various other similar type of things. Anywhere where you're needing a natural antibacterial, garlic is your go-to because of all its medicinal properties as well. It is associated with reduced cholesterol levels, blood pressure, and heart disease risk. So, this is why your Mediterranean population and the Mediterranean diet is so good, because those people tend to eat a lot of garlic and they don't have cholesterol issues. They don't have heart issues. In an updated meta-analysis and review published in the Journal of Nutrition, researchers identified randomized controlled trials evaluating the effect of garlic on blood pressure and cholesterol. And these are always the sort of gold standard of the trials, because with your trial subjects, when they do a randomized control, it means only the researchers know who is getting what. The people administering the medication or the trial have no idea if the person that they're giving whatever it is to is getting a placebo or the actual thing that they're doing the research on. So that way they can't sort of cook the books, for want of any better terminology, and tell the person that they're administering to, this is actually the genuine stuff and we want a good result, they just say, this is what we're looking for, and they administer it. And only the researchers themselves know exactly who received what, and that way they get a much truer evaluation, which is why a randomized controlled trial is always your gold standard. And they found that garlic supplementation amongst individuals with hypertension, which is high blood pressure, resulted in a significant decrease in the systolic blood pressure, on average by 8.7 millimeters of mercury, and in diastolic blood pressure by 6.1 millimeters of mercury. And in the greater scheme of things, this can be quite significant. They also reported that previous data showed the treatment of garlic longer than 2 months was effective in reducing total and LDL, which is your bad cholesterol, by 10% among individuals with elevated levels. Again, quite a significant improvement there. Thus, this study suggests that garlic supplements may be a helpful addition to blood pressure and high cholesterol treatments, both of which contribute to CVDs. A simple thing like garlic. Now, remember as well that your minimum effective dose of garlic, according to Dr. Don Lawson, is 4,000 micrograms per day, which is roughly the equivalent of a clove of garlic. Not deodorized garlic, real genuine that you can plant in the garden, again, type of garlic, not the synthetic stuff. So if people don't want to swallow a clove or chew a clove of garlic a day, and be aware that if you are cooking with garlic, you are altering the properties to a certain extent. So your minimum effective dose is actually raw garlic. Now, no, not too many people, including myself, look forward to having to swallow a clove of garlic a day, which is why I prefer to take it in tablet form, which is much easier to swallow. And in my opinion, you get a much more concentrated dose because it's processed correctly. Evidence suggests that increasing intakes of food high in polyphenols, including flavonoids like anthocyanins and flavonones, may help to improve your cardiovascular health as well. And flavonoids are what's found in things like red wine. Obviously, you don't want the alcohol side of things, but you do want the flavonoids. And this is why a lot of cardiologists will tell you a glass of red wine a day is good. No more than a glass a day. 1 glass a day is good. Recently, researchers at the University of East Anglia in the UK and the Harvard School of Public Health in the States published a study investigating this association of the polyphenols. And this study analyzed data from more than 43,880 healthy men participating in the health professionals follow-up study and across 24 years of follow-up. So it's quite a big study group. And the researchers found that individuals who consumed the highest amounts of foods containing anthocyanins had a 14% lower risk of heart attack, and individuals with high intakes of flavonones had a 22% lower risk of ischemic stroke. And they proposed, therefore, that the benefits associated with polyphenols might involve their role in improving blood flow and inhibiting platelet aggregation activity. Some big words over there, simply meaning makes your platelets less sticky and therefore less risk of sticking to the artery walls or vein walls, and therefore less risk of oxidation happening and blockages occurring. While previous studies have been able to show this benefit in women, this is one of the first studies demonstrating this association among men. Men are more prone to heart attacks than women. So where do you find these anthocyanins and the flavonoids? Red and blue fruits such as blueberries and cranberries are good sources of anthocyanins, and flavonoids are commonly found in citrus fruits. Now, how many of those have you eaten today or this week? I know I haven't had any. Well, certainly not in the original state. It's long been known that high fiber diets support cardiovascular health by promoting weight loss, lowering cholesterol, and improving hypertension. Remember, it's not just a single thing. You can't just pop a tablet and expect all your cardiovascular problems to disappear. You can't pop a medication tablet. You can't pop a supplement. You can't exercise your way to good health. It is a combination of lifestyle and diet. So please make sure you do the whole thing, not just half-hearted. However, a recent study from the Northwestern University showed for the first time that fiber consumption could also impact lifetime risk for cardiovascular disease. And this is the problem with the SAD, or the standard American diet these days. It's generally very low in fiber because of all the processed foods that people are getting. Most of those things do not have anywhere close to the correct amount of the correct fiber, never mind any fiber. And this study looked at data from the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey that included more than 11,000 participants and inputted their data into a logistical model that predicted their lifetime risk for heart disease. And I know there's certain life insurance companies that have got similar software that they can also, they look at a whole lot of different things, weight, lifestyle, etc., and they can predict pretty close within a few weeks of when you're going to die, which is quite an interesting thing, but also quite a scary thing. What the researchers found was that younger adults, we're talking 20 to 39, and middle-aged adults, ages 40 to 59, with the highest fiber intake had statistically significant lower lifetime risk of cardiovascular disease compared to those in the same age group with the lowest fiber intake. And researchers were amazed at the findings and concluded that starting a high fiber diet now, never too late, could significantly improve the long-term risk for heart problems. So how much fiber should we aim for on a daily basis? The American Heart Association recommends at least 25 grams of dietary fiber a day for adults. And according to a dietitian that I spoke to recently, it's now accepted that between 25 to 32 grams of fiber per day is the accepted amount, whether you are healthy, unhealthy, diabetic, or not. A recent study published in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition shows that supplementation with soya protein is associated with improved levels of E-selection, which is a biomarker of endothelial, which is the lining of the blood vessels, dysfunction, as well as levels of leptin, which is a type of adipose cytokine, which is a signaling molecule produced by fat tissue. The study was an 8-week randomized placebo-controlled double-blind 3-phase crossover trial, meaning the chances of the subjects knowing what they were getting is statistically impossible for them to guess. So they really did not know what they were getting. And the results of this trial compared the effects of 40 grams of soybean protein supplement, 40 grams of milk protein supplement, and 40 grams of carbohydrate placebo on biomarkers of cardiovascular health. The researchers concluded that soya protein decreased plasma levels of E-selectin, which may improve the endothelial function, as well as leptin, which may improve the metabolic function. These findings corroborate the previous studies which show that soya can be beneficial for reducing the bad LDL cholesterol in the body, improving endothelial function, and reducing the LDL cholesterol oxidation. Again, it's only a problem when it stops and clogs up the arteries. As long as the LDL or the HDL or any cholesterol is circulating, it's not going to cause a problem. While the mechanism is not fully understood, one way that soya acts on LDL is by increasing the size of LDL cholesterol, which is associated with a lower risk of heart disease compared to small, dense LDL particles. According to researchers at the Jean Mayer, USDA Human Nutrition Center on Aging at Tufts University. However, further research is needed to understand all the activities of bioactive compounds in soya. Nature is incredible, and it's already figured out all these things. And now humans are trying to figure out how these things work. They figured out that they work. Now they're trying to figure out how and why. But for me, it's academical. It's good to know, but if something works, I don't need to know how it works. I just want to know that it works, and it works effectively. But that's just me. Now, homocysteine is an amino acid that is synthesized in the body, and elevated levels are often associated with increased cardiovascular risk. So remember, when they're checking your cholesterol, they should be checking your HDL, your LDL, and your homocysteine. Researchers are not yet sure how high homocysteine levels increase heart disease risk, but it is thought to be related to damaged arteries, which do increase the risk for arteriosclerosis, meaning hardening of the arteries. So your veins and arteries need to be nice and soft and pliable. And if you ever fiddled under the hood of a car and you go into the engine, all your pipes are soft and flexible, and they work a lot more effectively than if your pipe is hard and rigid like a downpipe on your house. Those things, the water goes straight down. But in your car engine, there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of movement. So you want something flexible. Exactly the same thing happens in our body. We are soft and pliable, and we're flexible. If something gets hard, it becomes brittle and it breaks. And that's where the problems come about. In the recently published meta-analysis study, researchers pulled data from 13 trials and found that supplementation with omega-3s, when combined with folic acid and vitamins B6 and B12, had a greater homocysteine lowering effect than when the participants were supplemented with omega-3s alone. Where do you find these particular combination of things? Ever heard of a product called lipotropic adjunct? Now, researchers concluded that the decreases in homocysteine levels are likely attributed to the nutrient's role in the homocysteine degradation. And that is the end of that talk. So that just gives you a brief overview that it's not just a single thing that's going to combat your cholesterol. Don't think just sucking down a statin is going to control it. If you continue to sit all day and smoke and eat junk food and not move around, it's not going to do anything. It could make your risk higher, in fact, and cause more problems. So you've got to look at your lifestyle, you've got to look at your diet, and you've got to look at your medications. I'm not saying don't take medication. I am saying try not to take medication forever. Keep the levels low. Work with your physician because they know you better. After they've scanned you and sucked you dry of bloods, they know you inside and out. Work with your physician. Listen to your body. Work with a registered dietitian to help you with your diet. And get out and move. You don't have to go and do parkrun. You don't have to go and run the comrades. You do need to get up and walk every single day. Does anybody have any comments or questions before I stop the recording?
Oh, well done, Sean. That was a good session, actually.
Thanks, Sean. It was excellent.